This episode is brought to you by Factor. Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, your host as always, Andrew O'Hara, joining me once again this week after a lengthy little break here after CES and everything. It is Wes Hilliard. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. I didn't get to travel to California and get the crud, so I'm just hanging out over here waiting on you.
Well, perfect, because we have so much stuff going on this week. We're going to try to get you on last week, but I was out of town and schedules could not line up. So you're here this week, and we have things to talk about. So I guess we should just jump right into this, starting off with iOS updates. iOS 18.3 came out this week, and unfortunately, despite literally all the hype and all the rumors and everything that we've said on this show, it did not include robotic vacuum cleaner support. It didn't have it in there.
That's very odd. Like, was it there and then got removed, or just expected and just never came?
Well, it was one of those things where obviously it was supposed to come out in late 2024 or sometime in 2024. That's when Apple had it on its website, kind of like CarPlay 2. But it was on the website for 2024, and then at the end of the year, that was removed. And instead, we assumed it would be coming in 18.3 because it was actually added into the code. So it was one of those code sleuthing endeavors. I think Aaron Pierce did it. He's a Mac Rumors contributor. But he was digging through the code and found all these references to the robotic vacuum cleaners that looked like they were being added inside as part of iOS 18.3. So that had been the assumption this whole time. Now here we are with the release of 18.3 and no RoboVac support. So presumably in 18.4 is when we're finally going to see this. We were hoping to get the beta of 18.4 last week, but of course that didn't happen either. So stay tuned for next week's episode if we find out if it's in the beta of 18.4. But it's been a little bit of a roller coaster for people who have been eagerly awaiting this.
Yeah, there wasn't much to iOS 18.3 anyway. So, I mean, I expect 18.4 is just going to be an avalanche of everything Apple hasn't had a chance to implement yet.
I agree. I think it's going to be good. I mean, we have to be getting close because even the manufacturers are anticipating this. I'm pretty sure 3 robotic vacuum cleaners showing at my house that all supposedly have Matter on board, like not even as a firmware update, like they're shipping with Matter. Now, I know I'm getting them slightly ahead of their full release dates, but theoretically, I'm going to have multiple of these to be able to test out of the gate with 18.4 if that's where it is. But it's got to be coming here very soon, right?
Yeah, I mean, 18.4 beta could be as... Apple's done weirder things. We record on Fridays. It could be coming out this afternoon. So who knows? We'll see what happens.
I would bet money that's not happening, but Apple has done weirder things. So, not counting anything out. Next in the news, SwitchBot has begun shipping their air purifiers. So they have 2 different versions of their pretty cool air purifier. There is one that has a table on the top, and the other one has just like a round surface. If you go with the one with the table, it actually has a Qi charger built in. It's like a wood tabletop, so you can use it as a nightstand or for your couch. And then there are like downward facing like RGB lights underneath of it that you can control that give nice little accent lighting. As far as the filters and everything themselves go, there are pre-filters, activated carbon, and HEPA filters. They say it removes 99.97% of all airborne particles, allergens, pet dander, bacteria, all that stuff. They also say specifically, maybe this will perk yours up, Wes, but specifically designed for houses with pets. And they remove 93.45% of pet hair, neutralize 98.18% of odors in 30 minutes, and the filters catch 99.01, gotta get that 01 on there, percent of cat allergens, and 99.99% of bacteria. So a lot of, fancy stuff here. Matter will be coming later this year. SwitchBot is good. I have things on my desk right now, holding up this whatever hub SwitchBot temperature sensor doohickey, as well as the larger Matter one. But they have been adding a lot of Matter stuff to their products, so I do believe that this will happen. But Matter coming later this year. The full MSRP is $219 for the regular one, and then the one with the table lights and wireless charging, that's $269. But they are cheaper than that. I don't know if that's like a launch special or what, but the usual Amazon link in the show notes if you want to check them out. But these seem like a really good deal. I liked these when they were announced, and I kind of thought they already were shipping. So good to see they're going out.
Yeah, these are really neat. I mean, I wish they did a little bit more to, I guess, disguise it as furniture, because it is just a tower with a table on top of it. But I like that it's there, and it's definitely something I could see using somewhere. We recently installed a air purifier in the living room, and it's one of the ones, I forget the name of it, that has the removable front that can be a different picture for the filter. And that one's Smart Me, that's it. And that one's really nice, and I could expect this one being really cool too.
My biggest thing is that, like, I use a lot of air purifiers. We have a ton of animals in the house. Faith is especially worried about us becoming nose blind to smells and not realizing, that our house is stinky, and she doesn't want our house to be the stinky one. So we have a lot of air purifiers that do a lot of work around here. But the problem that I feel like I run into is filters get so expensive. And as I'm testing, different ones and seeing what works and doesn't work, I can't even buy like one filter that'll work for everything in the house. So I'm curious what everyone else decides to do. Like, would you go with different ones for different locations, or would you stick with kind of one design that you can use everywhere that has one type of filter in it that you can just like buy one time on like subscribe and save and be done with it?
Right now we have a different filter for the living room as my bedroom, so it just kind of comes down to what you need. I think it's fine having to have different kinds of filters, just know which one's which. Now, I wouldn't have 5 or 6, but like the one in my living room, I would replicate in the den. The one in my bedroom, I would replicate in other bedrooms. So kind of handle it that way. Maybe the most I would go from that further is I had the Smart Me desk purifiers, the small ones, and that would be just another filter type, a small, like a cylinder one. And that would be it. I think that's the furthest I would go. Once you get past 3, then it becomes a little unwieldy, and then you have 15 filters in your basement waiting to get exchanged, and you're turning into a Home Depot at that point.
There was one that came out a while ago. I don't even know if it ever actually shipped or not, but they had a washable filter or a vacuumable filter. Because most HEPA filters, like, they're basically glass. And if you even, like, touch them, it can break down their efficacy and everything. So you can't wash them. Like, the stuff gets in them and they're done. But there is one company out there who made one. I think it was like One Life. I want to say One Life. But they were supposed to be very sustainable and had washable, reusable filters. And I'm very curious about that.
I'm not sure how much I like that.
No, I don't want to keep replacing filters. If it was as good as your existing filters, or even like I wish I could even just replace like the carbon, like the charcoal, because that's what gets rid of the smells. And I think that's really important. And like the one that you have, the Smart Me, it's behind me. But they got like this grid pattern. You can actually see all the little rods of carbon that are in there that suck up everything. But eventually the carbon kind of sucks up as much as it can. And you got to replace it to keep getting the same performance out of them. So they do need to be changed. But I wish I could even just replace like carbon with having. I kind of almost want like the pre-filter and the carbon. Like, I know there's other things to take out of the air, but I'm like, I need to clean off the big chunks of dust and pet hair and dander and everything. And then I need the smells. Like, those are my biggest care points.
Somehow have a filter that's just water. There you go.
Okay, we have more news to hop into. Before we do, we should take our first break. We got 2 sponsors for this episode. We have Shopify. I talk about them so frequently. You guys know all the things that I love about the Shopify. It is basically this platform that you can build your business on. And don't worry, there's perks for people who are buying from a Shopify website too. So don't think this is just for people who are building a website or anything. But if you are looking to start your business, 2025, you're finally looking to start your business, or you're a big business and you're looking to improve your online sales, you're looking for new ways to market, looking for new ways to convert shoppers who are adding stuff to their cart, but maybe not completing that purchase. You want to add more payment options, whether it is using things like Shop Pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay. All those things can be done with Shopify. It is this one platform that can grow and scale with your business from a tiny little entrepreneur starting off selling hand-knitted mittens out of their garage to massive companies like Rothy's, Allbirds, Brooklinen, Nomad, Moment, all these companies. And it's crazy to see, especially in the Apple space, all these accessory companies that we work with and we review all the time, like Moment, like Nomad, that have moved to this platform. And it handles so much of the stuff for you that you don't even have to worry about. You can literally set up Shopify. It'll handle your taxes. It'll handle where you're shipping to. It can calculate your shipping. And if you have a physical location, you can manage your inventory between the two. So you know what you have in stock between a physical retail shop and online. And you can do fancy things like in-store pickup or anything like that. All that can be handled with Shopify. For customers, it gives you that safety and that trust in that website because you know how your payment is being processed. You know that your information is secure and safe. It's not necessarily getting passed on to that business that you've never heard of before. And Shopify has an incredible way to convert those shoppers into actual buyers because it is a pleasant, easy experience to actually complete that purchase. They do add Apple Pay, Google Pay, and all of those in there that you don't have to worry about implementing. And for shoppers, it's what you want because it's so easy just to scan your face and boom, make that purchase via Apple Pay. And then once you make that purchase, you can track it in the Shop app. So you know that it was submitted, you know that it is shipped, you can see it on its way, and then when you get it, you can leave a review. And they even have an AI-powered like shopping assistant in the Shop app that'll help you find more stores to buy stuff from. It's amazing for gifts, especially going into the holidays, at the end of the year, or even throughout the year, just trying to find gifts for somebody. Check out the Shop app because you can find so many cool stores that are all built on Shopify that you may want to shop through. It's really cool. I love it. So here's what you guys can do. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/HomeKit, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/HomeKit to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/HomeKit. Well, this is not specifically smart home news, but it's like smart home adjacent, and I think it is really interesting, I guess. But I guess CVS is testing smart cabinets. Everyone knows the experience of going into something like a CVS or a Walgreens, and what you need is locked up. And then it's like you have to go get a salesperson to come and unlock these things for you. And personally, it makes me not want to buy those things. Like, we were just in a New York West, and we went into a Walgreens. Almost every single thing in the store was locked up. Like, we just wanted to buy like some candy or something like to snack on in the room. They were behind lock and key. I'm like, I'm not gonna go ask the salesman to unlock a bag of like gummy worms or something. Like, I'm not gonna do it. And then I tried to go. I mean, to their credit, like this is a whole complex situation, but to their credit, I went to go buy strawberry milk for Harrison, and I asked the salesman, "Hey, do you have any milk or strawberry milk or chocolate milk?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we got some. I just put it out." And he walks over. He's like, "Oh dang it, they stole it! They stole it all already!" I'm like, I don't know how I don't know the correct answer on how to deal with theft in retail stores, but these cabinets obviously are also hurting sales at the same time. So CVS apparently has a possible solution where it'll allow people to unlock cabinets using their phones. So if you have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on and the CVS app, you can unlock the cabinet yourself to gain access to what you want. So it's kind of an interesting. I'm sure they're getting the data as you're shopping around the store and stuff, but I like this. I think this is a better solution.
Well, I think the biggest problem is they're locking stuff up. I mean, I get it that theft is probably an issue and you probably have to combat it in some way, but it's a whole political thing. But the other side of this is yeah, it's interesting. Use your phone or whatever, but not everyone has phones. Not everyone has access to modern smartphones or phones, period. Maybe someone just needs access to medical care or something like that. And now they still have to go find an attendant. And now that attendant's annoyed because, we thought we fixed it with the smart cabinets and now I have to go unlock this thing. So it's a cycle that keeps repeating itself. The cabinets, I don't think, are helping. I don't know. Maybe you just have to have a drive-through CVS at this point and let no one into the store ever. Just make it into a fortress.
I mean, I've heard it before. They know that the locking everything up hurts sales, and obviously so does theft. Like you said, it's a political thing on the best way to handle this. I don't know the best way to handle this by any means. This seems like a possible first step to doing it. I think it's definitely interesting, but it is, I don't know. It's something. It's just kind of like a smart cabinet for a store. But I guess I would prefer this. Like if they're going to lock it up, I'd prefer this over having to get an attendant. But still, just having things not locked up would be the best
Maybe
solution.
if I had to guess, and I'm not, in charge of these things, there's those stores that do, you have to pay a quarter to get the grocery cart, and then you return the grocery cart and you get the quarter back, right? Maybe they could do that, but with like some sort of key card system. I don't know. Just they need to make it so everyone going in has equal access to all of the same stuff. Because the problem with the cages is it removes that equality from the shopping experience. It makes it a more privileged experience of only those certain people are going to be able to shop, and then it allows certain employees to be more discriminatory or suspicious of certain individuals. And yes, theft is always going to be an issue, especially in larger cities with more poor people, right? But again, I think the cages are a symptom of not dealing with the poor people rather than trying to figure out a better way to sell stuff to people. But again, that's why this is kind of a weird mix of a political issue, and it's obviously not working. It's losing them sales. I wonder if they lose more stuff if it's not locked up versus losing more sales if it is locked up. I wonder what those metrics are, but and we'll never know. But yeah, the idea of bringing technology into this is interesting, and as a nerd, cool. But I do worry about how it's under the assumption that everyone has a smartphone, and that is a good place to start in 100 years, I guess. But even today, we still are not at 100% adoption of smartphone technology.
Absolutely. So Xiaomi is jumping into the Matter race some more. They have a new smart bulb out, right? Starting off with the basic, I guess, but similar specs to what we've seen on essentially every other smart bulb on the market. So we're looking at 106 lumens of maximum output. So on your white colors versus colors, 16 million colors supported. There are tunable whites, so you can do like the warm to the blues. Matter enabled, as I said, and they're going over Wi-Fi for their Matter connectivity, so not Thread, but not Bluetooth or anything because Bluetooth isn't supported on Matter, so Matter over Wi-Fi. Yep, pretty. I don't know. I don't have much to say about it. It's a smart bulb.
Yeah.
If somehow you were a person out there holding out for a smart bulb.
Yeah, basic, straightforward design. Looks like those GE LED bulbs. Yep. If you need a color bulb in your system, go for it.
It's definitely an add-on item. Is what I feel like these are. It's like, hey, we got a whole portfolio. We might as well try and get our cart totals up a little bit more with like an essential item. Yeah, because no one's going to specifically pick out Xiaomi necessarily, because these are older Hue bulb specs. Really, like the new ones are brighter.
Yeah, they could offer like a pack of 4 or something for cheaper, and I feel like that's kind of what they're going for.
Yeah, no, basic, but yeah, Xiaomi's got Matter bulbs now. Flic Duo, we saw this at CES. It's still not out, shipping this summer, but it is up for pre-order. So early bird pricing, $49 for this guy, will be $59 at full release. Link for it's in the show notes. Nothing else to add here. Did you see this at CES? We didn't really talk about this too much, did we? Did you see this one at CES?
I've heard people talk about it, and it's definitely interesting. Just more of a kind of gesture control type thing. They have more stuff going on, more 2 buttons better than 1 anyway, but I mean, you can pick it up and carry it around with you. Yeah.
It's got a lot of stuff. It's got like multiple gyroscopes and sensors, and it's got the magnets on the back so it can be wall mounted. Honestly, $50 for smart button, Matter button, whatever, isn't bad. And I like that there's 2 of them on there. And then if you want to get fancy and set up all the gesture controls, yeah, cool. You got that too.
Yeah, it's cool. I've looked at Flic before just as an option to have physical controls in the home. And this is something else I could consider. Maybe replace my old Hue multi-button remote, the Hue dimmer switch.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one right there. Well, we still have more news to get into, but let's take our second break for the episode. It is Factor. I am very hyped because I have Factor meals arriving literally tomorrow. These will be my lunches slash dinners for the next several days. And I have not since we were gone, CES and then New York and everything like that, I have not ordered Factor in several weeks now. So I'm very hyped to get these again. So if you are unfamiliar with Factor, they are fresh prepared, chef prepared, ready to go meals. They are not frozen. You don't have to assemble them yourself. They literally come ready to go, healthy. You put them in the microwave for just a couple minutes, like 2 minutes, boom, done. Or you put them in the toaster oven or an oven. I think 7 to 8 minutes, somewhere around there, and they come out perfect, amazing. You can get like chicken and green beans and potatoes. There are pasta ones. Plus, they have all these different menu choices you can choose from. So if you want to go like vegan or vegetarian, you want to go keto, they've got those options. They have their chef specialty ones, which is kind of like their essentials line. All this stuff, you can pick your proteins as you go through. You can choose all of your meals and just pick on. There's a huge selection each and every week that you can pick through. They are all these gourmet, amazing looking meals, and I haven't basically found one that I don't like. They have all been amazing. I eat them. Faith eats them. Our kid eats them. He loves them, especially when they have broccoli in there. He's like all about it. They have 40 different options and 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. So you can pick what you need to tailor to your goals. And you can choose, even like I said, the Protein Plus, Keto, Calorie Smart. So if you're looking for like low calorie ones to lose weight, that's a thing that you can do too. So they have all these different options. And compared to when they first started like sponsoring the podcast, they've added all these extras. So now they have breakfasts that you can do. You can get breakfast options. You can get smoothies and wellness shots. I really like the wellness shots and the smoothies. Like, for sure, easy add-ons. Like, you got to try the smoothies and the wellness shots. The ginger wellness shot, I really like it. I really like it. So I'm getting some more of those. But there's all this stuff that you guys can add. So check them out if you have not done so before. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/HomeKit50off and use code HomeKit50off, that's 50, to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code HomeKit50off at factormeals.com/HomeKit50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Back to the news. This again is not a residential product, but I feel like it should be. And I'm kind of shocked that it's not, Wes. This is the Logitech Spot. And it is being marketed towards businesses for like conference rooms to know if they are being utilized. But it's a small little, I don't know what you want to call it, because the box seems wrong, but a little gray thing that you set on the counter. It's a millimeter wave sensor that will identify people in the room. It'll also measure air quality and has a 4-year battery life, and it ships the second half of this year. So basically what we're looking at is a millimeter wave presence sensor being marketed towards businesses. But I really like the look of this compared to the Aqara ones, they're white, but they look more like techie. This looks more subtle in your home. Yeah, just a different design. It's a little more like an elevated design versus the Aqara ones. Why don't we have something like this from Logitech for Apple Home or Matter?
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, I feel like it's because it's being pitched as a business solution. They're kind of avoiding the whole home thing, but I could see it rolling out later. I'm not sure that Logitech does anything in the home. This is very clearly more of a tech accessory company, and I'm surprised that they're doing business at all. Maybe they have a whole business division I don't know about, but yeah, I could see this being something interesting. I wonder, 4 years on a battery, that's nice, not having to really worry about that. You just stick it on the wall and it just works. But I wonder if you start getting into HomeKit, even with it being low energy and all of that, what happens to that 4-year battery life when you start dealing with other systems? It feels like this is probably very proprietary and communicating with a specific unit like system that they've made, and it would change the product a little bit if you get outside of their proprietary units. But interesting anyway that they're working on this. Maybe it's just getting a lot less expensive to create these kinds of products, and we'll just see more of them in the market.
I mean, they have the technology. They definitely could make an Apple. I mean, they have done all these Apple Home products like the Circle View doorbell and the Circle View cameras, which are very well received. I like both of them here in our house. So I'm surprised they just didn't make a version of this for the home as well as one for the business. Maybe they will. We don't know. But I like the idea of it just because presence sensors are so much better than motion sensors. And we really only have like one or two presence sensors in the market. And the one that we recommend everyone is Aqara, which does a great job. But I would like to have options. And this looks like something that they would sell in an Apple store that would do better than what's out there now. I mean, even Eve, as much as we love Eve, they have a standard motion sensor. They don't have a presence sensor yet. So it seems like, I don't know, maybe it's like a boring spot. So they're like, oh, let's market to businesses because we can do stuff. And I think it was Jennifer Toohey over at The Verge who did like an interview with them about this, and she even brought up like privacy things for the business because millimeter wave can be really specific. If you looked at the data that you can collect from like the Aqara presence sensors, you can see specifically like how many people are in the rooms, and you can even do like Aqara lets you track like your breathing overnight because they can measure like the movements in your chest. Now Logitech says this one is not that accurate. Maybe it is if a person was like, that close and they wanted to tailor it to that. But they said they aren't providing all that information. It's not that accurate to the businesses, so it can't be a huge privacy thing versus like a camera. I just think it's interesting. I just wish we'd see an Apple Home One give us more presence sensors in Apple Home and Matter, especially like these nice bespoke looking ones.
Yeah, and maybe Logitech should enter the home space and see what they could make. This would be kind of a fun experiment for them anyway.
They've been in and out like all this time. Of course, we had like the Logitech Harmony remotes, and they made a smart home version,
right.
and then that got killed off. And then they had the pop buttons, which are really popular, sold through Apple stores. I actually really like the pop buttons. Like they were like a soft texture and made a fun noise when you pressed them. Like they were a great product. And then those got killed off, and now they have the Circle View doorbell, which I believe are doing well and sold through Apple. But
Right, that's the one. I knew they did something, but it wasn't coming to mind. I have like 4 of those, so.
See? Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're good products. So I'm just saying they could definitely do it.
Yeah, presence sensors, definitely something that I feel like no one's doing just because it's hard enough to sell a light bulb to the average consumer, and they're starting to adopt those very quickly, but going all the way down to a presence sensor, that's some very nerdy stuff, and it's probably still hard to penetrate that market. So I wonder if there's a reason why we're not seeing that many of them.
I mean, one of the most basic of operations is motion turn on light, right? Like that's your most basic thing. But up until now, they've been terrible because we've had to rely on motion sensors, which aren't good.
Right.
I mean, you can sit still and your lights will turn off because you weren't moving enough. Like that's like your classic in the office, you're waving your arms because the automated lights turned off on you. And people don't want that in their home. The presence sensor gets rid of that because they know you are still there. Even if you're not moving, it knows you are still in the room and won't turn off your lights on you. So it fixes such a big issue. But yeah, like you said, it is a little more nerdy. Like it's a sensor versus a light. Lights are more popular.
I think it's harder to make the sale too, because while we know motion sensors are worse than presence sensors, they're going to be more expensive. And people could look and say, oh, I can just do that with this $20 object instead of this $40 object. Why bother with the presence sensor? I don't need to know the humidity of my room or something. So I don't know. I think it's a harder sell, and they're just getting easier to make, smaller, cheaper. There'll probably be more on the market soon.
I agree. Well, next up, do you remember, Wes, the Govee Ice Maker that we talked about on the show a while ago, and how they were promising that they were going to be adding Matter to this? And we were like, how is that exactly going to work?
I mean, I remember this being a very kind of funny product, but yeah, I see you have here, it's showing as an outlet, which makes total sense. You just turn it on and off, which, does it work the way I'm thinking, that you turn it on and it just starts making ice? Is that useful that way, or is it not?
I mean, it depends, because I don't know 100% what's the recommended way to kind of use that type of thing. But yeah, so they did add the Matter update to this as they promised that they would, and you can scan the QR code, get it into the Home app, And I was curious because Matter now supports appliances, including ice makers. So this should have shown up as a specific ice maker. The problem, as we know, Apple Home is very far behind
Right.
in their Matter adoption. So even if a car wanted to make, sorry, a car, even if Govee wanted to make this the appropriate device type in Matter and set it up as an appliance, it would not be supported in Apple Home. So maybe that's why they went with the most basic, which is just on and off switch as an outlet.
Something,
And that's what SwitchBot did too for their vacuum cleaners to
Right.
get Matter adoption early, was to show it as a on and off option.
it's something that could get changed later as Apple enhances their actual uses. Like, they need to add so many more devices. I mean, even in the lights options, they don't have all the right icons for the versions of lights that there are, right? Like, you can't even choose like Christmas lights or certain kinds of lamps or ceiling fixtures. I want to see different things for what they are, but half the time I just have to pick the like 3 light chandelier option because there's really no other option, right? Ceiling fan with light in it. But why is there just only, there's like 4 icons on the whole thing. That alone is annoying, but then you have just, nothing. No support for all of these devices that should be in Matter, should be in HomeKit already, and they just haven't got there yet.
Yeah. But otherwise, it actually is really nice. I have really liked this ice maker. It has been legit. I don't know that, because that is the questions. Like, do you leave it on all the time, perpetually making ice? Or do you, automate it? Like, turn it off at night and then turn it on during the day? Technically, why pay for the electricity of making ice throughout the night? Like, you don't need that ice. So it makes more sense to turn it on back in the morning. But I also have questions on, like, the sitting water. Like, is that bad versus having it constantly move and cycle and being frozen, refrozen and stuff? I mean, you do clean it. Like, you can get cleaning tabs to put in. There's a drain on the bottom. So essentially you use I think distilled vinegar or something in some water, and it runs through. There is a cleaning cycle that it runs through. So we do that weekly to clean it all out and keep everything, good, the ice tasting fresh and everything. But I don't know. Is it a bad thing for the water to sit in the tank overnight, or is that too short of a period of time for it to really matter? But in my head, it's probably best just to turn it off at night because you don't need ice. Why pay for the electricity? For people who don't know how these work, like, there's literally a basin on the bottom, and it siphons the water up. It drips them over a bunch of little metal nodes that hang from the top. The water freezes on them, and then it releases them down onto a tray, which falls into the basin. And then you can use them. If you don't use them, they just melt, and it goes back into the basin on the bottom, cycles up, and becomes more ice. So it's a perpetual cycle of making ice cubes, dropping them, they melt, pump up the water, make ice cubes, and just repeat. So, like, during the night, they'll be refrozen 4 times by the morning. Now they have Matter. I think I'll probably set mine up to like the good morning scene and good night scene. So when I say good night, I'll probably turn off the ice maker. And then in the morning, when I say good morning, which opens the shades, turn on our main room lights, it'll also turn on the ice maker. I think that'll probably be the way that I'm going to go.
Now, how long does it take to make a single like set of ice?
5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, then, just turn it on in the morning. By the time you get out of
bed. It makes
bed.
about 9 cubes, I think, 8 cubes at once. So if you're making like an iced coffee, you probably need to wait 15 minutes because I'm going to need like 3 sets of cubes. I mean, because if you're making,
so you could run it
if you're making iced coffee,
early, it's an easy thing. That at the very least makes sense. Like, don't have it running all night, and letting the water sit overnight isn't going to be an issue. It's in a contained basin, and you're cleaning it regularly. So I don't think it's a problem to just shut it off and shut it back on. So that's a good use case. But again, there should be more controls. There should just be an ice maker in HomeKit. So hopefully we'll see a lot more home in iOS 19 because Apple Car is dead. And the only thing left is Apple Home, and Apple's priorities have to shift. So, yeah.
Hey, 2025, year of the smart home, baby. That's what it's going to be.
Yep. 10 years later, here we go.
We also have some AirTag 2 rumors. I added this to the last second, but it was a video that went live on Friday. So if you have not seen it, check it out if you're interested in what is coming for AirTag 2. These are supposed to be launching possibly as soon as May. We have all these like scattered releases, like early, like that are all set for maybe early this year. And I don't know how they're going to coincide or what's going to be a press release or if we'll have any sort of event. Everything seems like a mixed bag for early this year, Wes.
Yeah, I mean, I've written a lot about this. So many devices are expected. We still have home hubs bouncing around that could come out anywhere between now and 2027. Who knows? But we'll see. I think what's going to happen is we're going to get a couple of big blocks from April to June of just, here's the iPhone SE and the iPad. Here's an AirTag press release. And it's just going to kind of roll out that way. And Apple likes capturing the news cycle for longer. So by not having a specific event and just a series of press releases over a few weeks, lets them be talked about over and over again by major news outlets, and they like that. It gets them more attention, more time. So
it helps me, I mean, and you as well, like just on our coverage, because like obviously when Apple news comes, our stuff gets a boost. More people are interested in what's going on. We're talking about it. And when Apple is able to, instead of, if they do like one massive drop with 30 products, we have to cover them as fast as possible.
All in
and
like a day.
It condenses our benefit from it.
Yeah.
We get a bigger benefit.
And we miss things.
Extrapolated out. Yeah, that's
when it's that much, we end up spending like 2 weeks going back and looking at like, okay, did we get this feature? Did we get that? And it becomes an onslaught of just information, and you have to choose what to prioritize, and it's a mess. Whereas even the daily thing where they release one product a day for a week is just so much easier for us versus here's a 2-hour keynote with 11 new things. And it's just like, whew, yeah, that's hard.
That reminded me. So I just did a week or so ago, I did the AirPod Max, and I compared them against these $5 dollar store headphones just for the fun of it. And it reminded me of, I went back and looked at our original launch coverage, and I got to update it because in there we said that they still support audio output or audio input, I guess, with an adapter, like a USB-C audio adapter.
They do not.
But they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. The second gen ones do not do that.
One reason why I'm still
cover so many things.
Yeah, still have these lightning headphones. It's so odd what's going on with some of these things. Apple, just do the right thing and release a better AirPods Max. We can forget the whole thing. You never release the USB-C version. It's fine. Just AirPods Max 2. Let's go.
So for AirTag 2 at least, here's what the rumors are saying other than a spring release date. Keeping the same form factor that we have now, so don't expect any changes there. Yeah. A better speaker, and better I mean in two different ways. First, it'll be louder, and it'll also be harder to remove. I was actually editing them. This is just sad state of people, Wes. I was adding the metadata for the video, and I'm like typing AirTag, and the first thing, like 6 different variations of like suggested keywords is how to remove speaker.
It's silly. I mean, it might be because of weird stalkers, but also might be because why is this thing beeping so much? Get it away from me. But yeah. Hopefully people realize that they don't need to remove the speaker in a good situation. They can just share it, share the AirTag and have it stop chirping at them. But in any case, it's an issue Apple should address.
Yeah, I mean, people are clearly removing the speaker and using them to stalk people. It's like, not some sort of special thing exclusive to Apple either, because this is not Apple's fault. Trackers have been around forever. Yeah. Tile has been around. Like, people could stalk before.
No. If I were an engineer working on a product like this, I would make it so the whole device just broke without a speaker in it, right? Like it created this hardware disconnect that if you tried to tamper with it in any way, that it just would fail. And I don't know if Apple is planning that or something, but it would be smart, I guess.
It's hard to do because like how do you create that as a circuitry? You'll have to have some sort of chip in the speaker that like authenticates. And then you get into people complaining about proprietary Apple stuff.
I can't repair
unrepairable.
I can't repair my $30 AirTag. Oh no.
Exactly. But I agree with you. They should make it inoperable without a speaker on there.
In this case, I think we can sidestep the right to repair movement a little bit and just say it actually is very useful to have this be a hardwired feature. But in any case,
Yeah. So louder speaker, better like non-removable speaker, same form factor, up to 3 times the range, which is like roughly 100 meters somewhere in there. If you are using this in like ideal conditions, like outside within line of sight, not necessarily like throughout the home with walls and everything, but roughly 90 meters. And then there was stuff thrown about Vision Pro integration, and there was this is all up in the air of like, oh, is it just going to be you can see in 3D space where your item is, or because they are so precise with their ultra wideband chips, could they be used for something else like hand tracking or something like that? Who knows?
object anchoring.
Yeah.
You know, and it should have the U2 Songs of Innocence chip inside of it. So we'll see how that goes. I still
chip, maybe a better battery life.
I still
to
love
go with that new chip.
That Apple avoided calling it the U2 chip for I'm sure reasons, but still it's the U2 chip. But no, better battery life. I do like that we've already hacked our way into just using AA batteries to make it last 10 years. Always fun, but new AirTag, bring it on. This thing's been around for a while. It's obviously very popular. They're making quarters off of it. I'm sure it's not super profitable. You can only make so much off of $30, but selling really well. People like them. And despite the bad publicity, I think they're very good for what they are. They're good products. I have a lighter that has an AirTag slot in it. It's ridiculous. So just the things that you can do with these things, it brings technology to places that you'd never thought of before. And yes, it's just a tracking technology, but still it kind of loops it in. It's like, oh, here's my bike, here's my backpack. And it's just kind of adding elements to it. And I understand that Apple won't do it, but I'm glad third parties do. Like, I would love to see more form factors for AirTag. Let's do a card. Let's do objects, right? Find My integration is interesting. And it's funny you bring up Apple Vision Pro support because there still isn't any Find My in Apple Vision Pro whatsoever. So I think they're going to have to get that done first before we get AirTag 2 inside of Apple Vision Pro.
True story. Let's wrap this up because I want to get your opinions on this. So on the last week's episode, I believe, maybe 2 weeks ago, but I had talked about whether or not it made sense to upgrade your products to Matter. And I'm talking about in 2 different ways. One, via software. For the products that do support upgrading to Matter, does it make the sense to move from Apple Home specifically to Matter? And then the second part of that is, are there products in your home that may make sense to upgrade to Matter versions so that currently they're Apple Home, you've had them for 10 years, they still work fine, but is it worth to possibly consider upgrading them to a newer version that supports Matter? And for me, there are things that I'm going to start moving because I do want products like that Aqara wall panel where I can control and see my Matter accessories. But at the same time, I know we've had the process isn't easy. I moved my Eve weather to Matter, and it was like you have to remove it from essentially it gets removed from your home, and then it generates a new pairing code, and then you have to scan that code, which they have to. Eve makes it a little bit easier by having you save it to your Photos app, and then it automatically tries to re-add, and you scan it from there by importing the photo from the Photos app, and then re-onboards it. So like that upgrade process is a little tedious, and people have complained about issues with Matter. And we did have a couple people write in, like Doug, who says emphatically, no, don't do it. But for me, like my Eve weather has been rock solid on Matter. Like Spot, let's try it right now. I got my phone. I'm gonna not say the word, but what's the temperature on the porch? You can see how quickly it's able to tell me 40. It only took a half a second. Like that was so quick. And that is like my live temperature from my Eve weather on the porch, which is running over Matter. So, and existing products. Sorry, Wes, not to cut you off, but like I have these SwitchBot products and some others that come Matter only, not even Apple Home. And for me, most of them have been working pretty fine. Like I haven't had any glaring issues as of late. So what do you think? Have you had issues? Let's hear your side.
I mean, it really is a product to product basis. You should do your research, find out how the transition goes, if other people have had issues, and maybe wait it out if people have, because then they'll just release a new firmware update and the next version will be an easier transition, that kind of stuff. So, but the overall answer, I think, is yes. If it's possible to move to Matter easily and it's not going to ruin everything, do it, because it's a useful system. You just have to pay attention and know what you're doing. Don't just haphazardly, yes, agree, everything Matter all the time. Just maybe look into it a little bit first, especially, if you're listening to the show, you're probably a bit more nerdy about this stuff. You're going to go into the details anyway. Look into it. But there's a reason why you want this stuff to be Matter. It's more likely to get more updates more often in the future. This is the protocol everyone's moving to. Even Apple's more or less making HomeKit into Matter, into HomeKit. Like, they're eating each other. And there's cool stuff happening with Matter. I forget what they're called, home whatever hub. They have this new voice device that lets you just choose your smart assistant, and it works with Matter products. And that's really cool. All kinds of fun little third-party hacks, and brings in so many more devices. I say, for me personally, go all in on Matter, because it just means more interoperability, better controls. As long as, Apple actually commits and follows through, I feel like we'll see a lot more Matter stuff happening very soon.
I know you don't have anything necessarily installed because you are renting or leasing or whatever it is right now. But are there any products in your home that you've had for a while that you would possibly consider upgrading now to Matter versions, like buying new hardware to replace something that you have?
Well, I've definitely considered a few things. I like my thermostat. I have the mid-generation, Gen 3, I think, Ecobee thermostat. I could see upgrading just for the sake of having somewhat of a newer feature set.
Because I no Matter on Ecobee.
Oh, okay. Well, see, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't pay enough attention. Like, I am in the home space to the point that I'm looking for I want to add as many things to my house that works with HomeKit that I can, right? That's because it's fun. I like opening that sheet and just seeing a million things and all these little stats and all this stuff. But right now, it's just, I have the level lock plus, so I need to convert.
Did you do the Matter upgrade?
I haven't yet, but I plan to. Like, it's just mostly out of laziness, but it's something that I intend to do for sure. And I use like nanoleaf bulbs, which are just thread. So it's this weird situation. Like, I have two nanoleaf bulbs that are Matter, and the rest of them are not. So it's just, I'm getting there, but there's no permanent installation. The closest thing I have is the thermostat that you have to rip the whole thing out of the wall. And I haven't replaced any light switches. I could if I wanted to. It's not that restrictive. I just have to put the old ones back when I move, or donate a $50 device to my landlord, I guess. But yeah, it's just, I'm not against it. If the product has Matter in it, I'm fine with it. Like, I've got a few things in that, you go to settings, you can see all your Matter equipment. I have a few things in there already, and it's fine.
I would say the level lock was one of the ones I for sure wanted to upgrade to Matter, because it went from Bluetooth to Thread. Yeah. So not only getting Matter, but Thread. And for me, it's been very fast since that update.
And I feel like the battery would improve a little bit too, wouldn't it?
Theoretically, I would think so, yeah. So that was a big one. My Eve wall switch, there's been a couple times now that it has not triggered. It's what controls my porch lights, like above my porch lights. And it automatically turns on when we arrive home. And it also has like other stuff that we like schedule with it, but it's part of that good night scene. And a couple times we'll notice the lights are still on and they didn't trigger with that good night scene. I'm like, you know what? They have a new version out that has Thread and Matter. And I feel like that's something that I've had that light switch since it launched, probably 10 years or something now, and I feel like that's something I should maybe consider. And it's a little hard because the product itself is fine.
Right.
Like, I hate to throw away a good product because it's crazy. I talked about on last week's episode, like, I've got Eve motion sensors that they launched, like their first HomeKit products. And 15 years ago, something at this point. I don't know, but it still works just fine. It shows in the home app, and other than the fact it's a motion sensor, not a presence sensor, it works fine.
Well, I wanted to pose one last question before we go, and I wonder if you have this issue, or if the listeners have ever encountered this, if there's even a solution, or if I just have to deal with it. But I have the latest Apple TV, and it's not the only one that's ever done this, but it's happening more frequently now, where it's my designated home hub because it's wired over Ethernet. Especially because of that, and I don't have automatic switching turned on, I'm noticing it more often that it just ceases to exist. And the only way to get it back, like the whole device, I can't wake it up from sleep. You pick up the Siri remote, you tap all the buttons, you open the remote app in your phone, it doesn't show up as a destination. It is not available in Apple Home. It's just gone. Like it lost power or something. The only way I get it back is by unplugging the AC cable from the back of it and plugging it back in so it reboots, and then everything turns on and it's like, what? Nothing happened. What are you talking about? I don't know what could be causing this. I don't think it's a power issue. It's plugged into a power strip, but so is everything else. Like my PlayStation would be complaining if the power strip was an issue, because then it would be like, I shut off and you didn't save or whatever. So I have no idea what's happening. It could be a hardware issue. It could be a software issue. I wonder if anyone else has encountered this, or if I'm just doing something stupid. I don't know. But it just, when the TV is awake, no issues. It doesn't just suddenly shut off. But if it's asleep and I come back the next day to wake it up, sometimes it just doesn't turn back on, and I check my phone and it's like, yep, there's a notification, lost signal to Apple TV living room. And it's just like, why? What is going on here?
I've not heard that. I have not experienced. We have 4 Apple TVs in the house. I have not had that happen before. I guess you know this as much as anyone, but I would start with a reset. Luckily, Apple TV makes it pretty easy to do a restore and everything. I would probably do that and hope that it's, because like you said, it sounds software related. Like it does. I can't imagine somehow like the power supply just stops.
I mean,
like
the only
leaking.
thing I could think of hardware is it is technically mounted to the back of the TV using one of those brackets, and it's does the modern Apple TV have cooling vents? I don't think there's a fan in these anymore, is there? I can't remember. Depends
on which model you have. Do you have the high end or the basic end?
The high end with the higher storage. Like I went all out.
So you'll see, if you're watching video, I have it in my hand. There are vents on. It's blurry because video, but there are vents underneath like the foot of it.
Maybe I should turn it over.
The smaller version does not have that.
Yeah, because it's facing the TV right now, so perhaps if I flipped it on its back so the vents were facing away from the TV, there could be a cooling issue. I have no idea. There's something killing this thing in its sleep. I don't know, and I have to reboot it every time. But I like your idea.
Software.
Yeah, I like your idea. Let's do like a full factory reset and try again. And
Report back.
But I don't know. I'm feeling like it's happened on other TV units, so maybe it is my setup that's doing it though. That's the only thing that throws a screw into that. So I don't know. I'll try a couple things, but I would love to hear from the listeners if anyone's ever encountered anything like this, or if Apple's listening. Just send me another one. Thank you. No, but yeah, I'll play around with it, see what I can figure out.
Sounds good. So yeah, anyone, if you guys have experienced anything similar, let us know. You can write to Wes. How do you want them to reach you, Wes?
Well, you can get me on my email, wes@appleinsider.com. That's at the top of any article I've written too. And you can find me on Blue Sky. I'm pretty active there. Mastodon, you can also message me there. I'll see it. So yeah, available any of those places.
Yeah, and you guys can hit me up as well with any of your questions that you want us to address on the show. You can find me at Andrew@appleinsider.com. You can leave a question or a note in the YouTube video version of this over at youtube.com/HomeKit Insider, which I'm sorry that we don't have video for the first part of this episode because I didn't hit that button. So we're going to have no video for part of this, but at least we'll have most of the episode on video. You can also find me on Twitter at Andrew_OSU, Blue Sky as well, same username there. So thanks for everyone for listening. Give us this 5, 10, 100 star review on your podcast player of choice, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.